welcome back, everyone. And with that match, we unfortunately have to say goodbye to Team Footwork from the NEO2 Open.
Well, they are now smelling the bitter smell of defeat.
Yes.
Hey, one thing I wanted to point out.
Wow, that was a terrible, terrible pun. Yes.
Sorry to interrupt your great joke. I wanted to, the Twitch chat caught something, which we didn't, that definitely deserves mentioning, which is that the Mollis, I think, that was left for the turn left guy, or the footwork guys, did Top Gun one of the frigs from the other team at the end of the match, slowed down right at the edge of the boundary and had him boundary violate for a loss. So small victories on their way out of the tournament, worth mentioning.
But I mean, Footwork is out.
Yeah.
Like, who would have thought that Footwork would be out in 2 matches? Like,
Nobody.
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 Nobody. Nobody knew.
So
not even their opponents knew. They were just like, no.
So speaking about kind of the whole Paladin and Doublegeddon situation that just happened, No Boundaries banned out the Golem. So it might have been that during practice and during testing, that these teams have just figured out the only real viable Marauders in this setup is the Golem and the Paladin, because those are the only 2 we've seen. We haven't seen the Kronos.
We've seen the
I've
Vargr.
seen Vargr.
Oh, we've seen the Vargr. Yeah,
so,
that's true.
So the only reason that the Golem would be any better is because of the ASB. So the ASB would let it run for a little bit, but even then, once you go on the reload, like most of the times you've seen the ASB on the Golems here, they've had a backup shield booster.
Yeah.
They've been running as well. That will be shut down by the neutralizers, and also the ASB is like so. Running the ASB without the charges, impossible to do. You'd melt the first time you had to reload. Armor reps take less cap, actually easier to run when you're nuding out. So you actually in some ways would prefer, especially if you're going for the Golem first, to take the Golem, force it into reload, and then just snap break it. Because it couldn't run. There's no way it could run anything in there. It also doesn't have the space for cap boosters in the mids because it's fitting all its tank in the mids.
Yeah.
That Paladin almost certainly had a cap booster. I would actually like to see a Golem almost more.
Yeah, I mean, that's kind of weird for me then, because maybe I feel like this setup that they brought is kind of tailored to dealing with Marauders, because like you said, it was a really perfect setup for that.
You know, amend my earlier statement. So I realized, I've thought about it a little bit more. The Paladin actually is one of the Marauders that I'm pretty sure that if it's fitting pulses, it would have to warp at 0 for Bastion to be able to hit the whole arena, right? 125 kilometers.
I mean, I don't know off the top of my head exactly what the range is. There's a range bonus in Bastion mode. Pulse already, will go pretty far. It probably can't reach the whole arena, but maybe close. It's probably 100K or something like that.
Something like that. So the Paladin, much more likely to warp to the center of the arena. The Golem can warp at 50, activate Bastion, and hit the whole arena quite easily.
Yeah.
So I mean, they're more likely to meet each other in the center with their battleships.
I'm wondering if the meta level of that Golem ban and bringing this setup is so high that the No Boundaries team thought Team Footwork is going to bring out all the stops there. They're going to bring their Marauder and like try and beat us with a Marauder setup. They're going to bring their 1 Marauder to this match. We don't want it to be a Golem because that can just sit at 50 and we need to get on top of it. Like let's ban out the Golem and hopefully get something that get a Paladin here, and then bring this setup tailor made to deal with a Marauder setup.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of different possibilities. It could be that by
you know who'll know. The team captains tweeted us.
Let us know.
One,
really.
There's a couple possibilities that you guys didn't mention that I can foresee.
Yeah.
One, by banning a Golem, you might say to the other team you're scared of a Marauder when actually you're really comfortable dealing with one. That could be a possibility that just we ban a Golem. If they have a Marauder set up, they might be likely to bring it because it looks like we don't want to fight one.
Yeah.
And actually we're really prepared for that. So that's just kind of a simple bait thing they could have tried to do. If they know their setup is good in general, but they know it's especially good against Marauders and they can maybe bait one with that ban, great. The other possibility is that they actually knew that the other team had been practicing a lot with Paladins or with any other Marauder, and that they just didn't want to ban them out of it because they had a counter. So it might be that if they think the other teams practice a lot with the Paladin for some reason, which, like I said, there's plenty of ways to get intel. It's not only someone on the other team spying, but that's one option. But if they find that out, they might just ban a Golem because it makes the other team feel more comfortable bringing their Paladin setup and leaves it open so that they're able to do it, and then they walk right into the Armageddons.
So if you are a member of the No Boundaries team and you want to divulge any information and tell us what the reasoning was behind that ban, it would be very much appreciated if you could tell us, for instance, on Twitter at the hashtag NEOII or NEO2.
Otherwise,
let us know.
I'm going to make Ripper Tag tell me what happened. Confidentially, but
so
I'll make him do
we
it.
have a schedule, an updated schedule for you guys. Get that up on the screen. So after the break, we have seen the Freeloaders knocked out along with Team Footwork, which leaves Facebook Alliance and No Boundaries still clinging to life in this tournament in the losers bracket. Our next match coming up is the Titanian Fleet versus Raging Homo Sapiens. The Titanian Fleet with a really not impressive showing. Like they
really,
had
really not impressive.
I was gonna say a really poor showing.
Yes.
Yesterday, there were some issues. So apparently they their FC didn't figure out that he was actually the FC until they had warped into the arena and he had warped in at bad range, and that kind of created some
fairly
chaos
basic piece of information.
Who's FCing?
Who's going to lead this fleet?
But
Let's decide when we get there.
I mean, I'm not ready to completely write them off. Maybe this was just a one-off fluke where they kind of got a little bit nervous. So, but they're going up against the Raging Homo Sapiens, and I have the bans for that right here in a second.
I have the teams for it right here as well.
Yes.
I would actually like to see the Titanian Fleet if they came into it. They're incursion runners. If they came into an incursion and just didn't know who their FC was when they landed in the incursion. What do we shoot you?
So if you go over the bans real quick, the Titanian Fleet banned the Balgorn and the Kronos. So 2 ships that we haven't seen so far being banned out here. Maybe a sign of some real specific intel. But Raging Homo Sapiens banned the Dominics and the Ishtar. So with that being said, prediction CCP Rise.
I'm going to go for Raging Homo Sapiens. I don't have a really good reason. Hopefully it's a close one.
I'm going to go for Raging Homo Sapiens, but if the Titanian Fleet actually knows who their FC is, they might do well.
Yeah, actually, that's my reason. That's a really scary piece of information. I'm going to just use that as a leverage to pick against them.
So I am going to go the opposite way to the two of you, and I'm going to say the Titanian Fleet is going to make an impressive showing here. Let's see.